Welcome to another episode of Success Through Failure. Here we go with another solo episode coming at you from the Harshaw homestead in Charlottesville, Virginia, where today it is actually another nice winter day. We've had snow and we've had plenty of below freezing temperatures, but man, it's been in the 60s the last few days. So can't complain here. I know I have plenty of listeners far up north. I've got an episode that I've been thinking about for a long time, talking about the concept of finding your passion, finding your purpose. What's the difference between passion and purpose, and how to go about figuring out what those are for you. Now, they're not the same thing. So I want to start off by making this differentiation. Passion is about you, right? Passion could be something that you're interested in. It could be gardening. It could be fishing. It could be fitness. It could be coaching your kids' baseball team, whatever it is. Like those are all things. Those are all passions, right? And that is not necessarily the same thing as your purpose. They may be connected. They pretty much always are. But your purpose could be teaching high school English, or your purpose could be teaching inner city youth the benefit. If your passion is gardening, your purpose could be teaching inner city youth the benefits of growing your own garden, right? That could be it, like impacting inner city youth, for example. I feel like most people, you'll likely have more than one passion, right? It could be college football and sports. It could be any of those things that I just talked about. So they are different. Passion and purpose are different, but your purpose is always connected to something that you're passionate about, right? And you may have multiple passions. Passion, like I said, is about you. So let's talk about passion for a bit here, and then we'll talk about purpose. And then we'll put them all together at the end here. So passion is about you. Purpose is about something outside of you. So passion is something that you're interested in. Like for me, kids, wrestling, business and entrepreneurship, helping people. Like these are things that I'm passionate about. And people ask me all the time, like, how do you know how to set the right goal? Like, what's the right goal for me? Like, how do I figure out what I'm passionate about? And oftentimes they're confusing passion and purpose. But a lot of people think that there's this one passion out there that if I don't figure it out, I'm going to, live adrift and, die homeless and penniless and 20 pounds overweight, in the words of Stuart Smalley. But there's not. There's more than one opportunity out there. There's more than one passion out there for you. And it's likely that you already know what one or more of those passions are. But passion is not something you just have. Like there's one thing and you either have the passion for it or you don't because you haven't discovered it yet. That's not the case. Like you can create your passion. You can create it. I'm going to talk to you about how to create passions and how to find passions. But part of it is looking inside you, figuring out what's important to you. Like for me, wrestling, looking at all the jobs that I've done over the years, like I've gotten to do jobs and work around things that I'm passionate about. Coaching wrestling, building businesses, working at my alma mater in the athletic department. Those were all things that I had some kind of passion around. But you can also create them. And how do you go about creating them? Well, if you're not sure what you're passionate about, try new things. Sign up for a course. Grow, like get outside of your comfort zone. Learn a new skill that you've been thinking about, right? Maybe it's woodworking or public speaking or volunteering at the local homeless shelter. Like try something new, try something different. Like in my community and in my group of friends, I know some guys who have become really passionate about F3. And if you've been listening to any podcast, you've heard me talk about F3 before. It's this men's workout group. The purpose behind F3 is to plant, grow, and serve small men's workout groups for the invigoration of male community leadership. Like that's the purpose of this, the mission statement of this organization. But I know guys who are like totally all in on this, right? And they not only go to all the workouts, but they're organizing volunteer events. And there's this 8K that we're staffing here in a few weeks. And some guys are all in on this, right? We had this thing called the F3 prom where we took our spouses, our wives or significant others and had this, we danced and drank and had a good time. And so some guys are like totally all in on that. But this is like something that didn't even exist in Charlottesville a couple of years ago. Like they didn't have that passion, but this was put in front of them. They stepped into this and went to some of the workouts, started making connections, and lo and behold, it's become their passion, right? And you can find other passions like that too. Go try things, right? There are organizations and groups that that you're interested in. You want to do that or test it out or try it out, but you just have never gotten around to it because you're too busy, being busy, right? A lot of times, it's stuff that we have to do, whether it's work or family and that sort of thing that we want to do and have to do. But other times it's like, watching the game on TV or drinking beer in the evening or whatever it is, right? And you're choosing not to try that. You can read a book on a totally different subject. Listen to a podcast right after you're done listening to this episode. Find a podcast about something that you're kind of interested in. You think there's a latent passion in you about it, and give it a listen. Right? For somebody out there doing that one thing, for one of you, somebody listening, maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody else, but it might be just you, where that simple action, that one thing will be this spark, this catalyst that changes your life. Maybe it changes it in a huge way. Maybe it just changes part of your life and you kind of follow this vein of a passion that you have explored in your life. So for somebody who's listening to this, that statement, that action item is going to change your life. Just because you're choosing to intentionally pursue an interest, and that interest could blossom into a passion. Like if I didn't find wrestling when I was 6 years old, for example, it's not that I would have lived my life completely adrift. I would have found something else. Something else would have shown up. And that's how I would have spent my time. And so you can create these passions. Like I know of this guy who lives locally who bought a house years ago. And this is kind of the story. I don't know all the details of this, but he bought a house. Inside of this home was a squash court. And from what I understand, he didn't play squash, didn't know anything, potentially anything. Maybe he dabbled in it. But he bought this home. It had a squash court in it, and he fell in love with the sport of squash, and he funded a squash facility. Actually, one of the top squash facilities in the world. This became his passion. Listen, there are things out there right now happening that you could be passionate about. And guess what? It's not just one thing. There's 3 or 5 or 10 or a dozen or dozens of them. Okay? So I want you to sign up for a course or, join a group, check the local community colleges for course listings, read a book on a totally different subject, check out a podcast that's on a totally different subject that you have a kind of a latent interest in. Or if you know somebody is the leader of a group, they participate in an organization and you know this person or you don't know them, but you know how to find them online or on Twitter, or you can look up their email or contact information and you kind of want to meet with them and kind of learn about this thing, but you're too busy. Just do it. Do the one thing. One thing. You don't have to figure out what your passion is by the end of this episode and then go all in on that. Do one thing, right? So that's passion, right? Now let's switch over to purpose, okay? Purpose is about others. And I said that, like, purpose is not about you. This is about who you serve or what you do or the impact that you have in the world. Like, I have a lot of clients who come to me and they feel like they have more potential. They know there's more inside of them, but they're not sure, like I said, like how to unleash it. They lack this clarity of purpose. They may have a passion, but they have this lack in their clarity of purpose. And it could be, they may have passions around sports or money or brewing beer or whatever. Like, those are passions, but the purpose is outside of you. It's bigger than that. Like, my purpose is impacting people of influence so that they can live meaningful lives of purpose and impact. And, because my time is finite. So I want to work with people who, when I work with them, they're influencing others. And so that has a ripple effect on my coaching, right? I'm not just coaching one person. I'm coaching someone who will have an impact in the world in some way, shape, or form. And whether they're a parent or whether they're a teacher or a coach or an entrepreneur or a manager or an aspiring leader, like that's my purpose. And I look at and I think back at the work that my father did for 40 years. He was a union sheet metal worker. And man, he worked. I mean, this guy, hardest working man I've ever met in my life. Just brutal work. I'm telling you, he did the kind of work that, man, I did some of that stuff over the summers. Just like construction work. I worked in a concrete plant where we made prefabricated concrete mold, casted concrete stairs and different things, platforms. And I worked on a concrete crew pouring driveways and sidewalks. I worked on a roofing crew and worked on a framing crew. I did all this. My dad did that kind of work, a trade work for 40 years almost. And that was hard work. I mean, hard work. He breathed in asbestos. I mean, they knew this stuff was, cancer causing long before they actually got this stuff controlled. And he used to literally, the wind would blow across a construction site and he'd have to close his eyes real tight and close his mouth and breathe through his nose and put his hands over his face so he didn't breathe this stuff in. He would be spitting it out of his mouth and pulling it out of his, blowing his nose, and asbestos would come out of his nose at the end of the day. And like, that's the kind of work that he did for 40 years. Was that his passion? No. But that was his purpose. His purpose was to serve his family. So that's what he did, right? His passion was his family, and it was connected to his purpose of serving his family and providing for his family and providing a better life than he had. And he made a better life for us by doing something hard. And that the hard thing was, sometimes working night shifts and, doing hazardous material work and just hard physical labor for years. But there was a purpose that he did this for. And the purpose was his family, and his passion was his family. So they were connected there, right? My mom worked, challenging jobs her whole career as well. She started as an administrative assistant in a company, and she worked her way up to a corporate level job, overseeing all new construction of new locations of a massive national chain. They had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stores all across America. Now, was that her passion? No. But again, it was connected to her purpose, which was her family, right? You hear stories about like Tony Hsieh, right? Zappos. Zappos is they were bought by Amazon, and the purpose of that company was delivering happiness. Like, he found purpose in a shoe company, right? A shoe company, a mail order online shoe company. He found massive purpose in that. He made a lot of money too. Harvey McKay, he's written tons of great books, personal development guy, motivational speaker. He's the CEO of an envelope company, Envelopes. He didn't have the company for a while and then sell it so he could go out and be a motivational speaker. Like, that's what he did. He was like a motivational speaker and author on the side. Like, that was his purpose. Like, I missed out on that whenever I was the owner of a window cleaning company. I missed out on the fact that I had a little bit of it. I kind of did some of this work, but not deep enough, because I sold this company right when it really started being successful. We'd gotten over the hump after a few years of building this thing. And I missed out on the idea that, man, Jim, you're making people's homes cleaner and brighter. You're bringing happiness to certain people's homes and lives. And you're impacting your employees. Like, the employees, like, paid them well, gave them a good job, focused on safety, and really treated them well. And there was a purpose there. But I missed that. And I'm so glad for the experience, because now I can look back and learn from that. But you can find purpose right where you're at. Right where you're at. So how do you really uncover what that is? Like, how do you uncover what your purpose might be? Well, what matters to you? Right? Now, I'm not talking about like your football team, your favorite team. I'm not talking about, watching the next season, binge watching the next season of your favorite show on Netflix. I'm not talking about getting likes on social media. Like, what matters? Like, what matters to you in this world? And so how do you do that? How do you find your purpose? I talked about how to find passions, right? Exploring, going out and having coffee with people, reading a book on a totally different subject, signing up for a course, joining a nonprofit or a group, or some kind of group that's doing something you have a latent interest in, maybe. But that's how you find your passion. How do you find your purpose? Well, first you have to step back. You have to step back and do things like this. You have to think about what your ideal day might be like. Like, your ideal day is going to involve your passions, right? Playing chess or going fishing or working out, whatever. Spending time with your kids. And another way to look at this sort of ideal day is to think about this thing called the miracle question. This is straight out of the book of Solution-Focused Therapy. This miracle question, and I actually did this with a client recently and just worked with their entire team, helping them and their employees discover what most engages them in their work. And we had the entire company there at the annual meeting. It was pretty fascinating what came out of this, but you can do this individually as well. And that's really what this is designed around, is the individual. So here's the miracle question. So imagine you go to bed tonight, and while you're sleeping, a miracle happens. And you don't know what that miracle is because you're sleeping, but you wake up. And as soon as you wake up, as soon as your eyes open, you start to sense that a miracle has happened. And what's happened is that you are now living your ideal life. And as your feet hit the floor, you start to realize that a miracle has happened. When your feet hit the floor, what do you see? Where are you living? Who's there with you? What are you doing during your morning? What do you do during your day? What do you do in your evening? What does that look like? What does that life look like, right? Again, it's going to include your passions, but you're going to start seeing some purpose come out of this. And I want you to remove, if you do this, and I encourage you to do this, this is like actual real work that you can do. I want you to remove the chains of limitations, like anything is possible. What does that look like? Here's another question that you can ask yourself. Whether it's during this ideal day or this miracle life, or just in the past when you felt purpose in your life. Think about AEIOU, okay? I'm going to give you, this is an acronym here, just AEIOU. A stands for activities. What were the activities you were doing? E stands for environment. What environment were you in? I stands for interactions. What interactions were you having? O stands for objects. Like, what objects were you using? A computer, a hammer, pencil. What was it? And users. U is for users. Who were the users? Like, who were the other people there? Right? AEIOU. Another way to help you discover your purpose is to think about what is present and not present in the future, whether it's in this miracle life or just in the future that you want for yourself. Right? So that's how you can do the work on your own to figure out your purpose. And part of this, let's be honest, is just getting off your ass and doing the thing, right? You may know what your passion is and know your purpose, but you're choosing to do other things, right? Are you choosing to do other things, or are you choosing to live your purpose? Now, let me say this too. I'm going to caution you. Discovering your purpose doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to be perfect in your life. Now, I can tell you for a fact it's not going to be perfect in your life. You're going to have disagreements. Loved ones and pets will still pass away, right? I mean, car accidents still happen. Like, stress is still there. And if you want to, if you want to visualize this ideal life filled with purpose and passion, like, you're still going to have to eat the right foods if you want to be healthy. You're still going to have to exercise if you want to be healthy. You're still going to have to remove your ego if you want to not have arguments, but find solutions with your spouse or your family or your friends. There are still things that you'll have to do that you should be doing right now. Like, those rules still apply. And when I say those things, I hope that puts more perspective in this, and you can go, oh, okay, well, maybe so many pieces of that are already in place. I just need the accountability. I need a little bit of clarity to actually implement these things. But it's not easy, right? Like Mother Teresa dedicated her life to other people. Like, she was full of purpose. Last I checked, I don't think she had a Tesla and lived in a mansion. Right? Mike Lindell found his purpose in creating his company, The Perfect Pillow. That company, The Perfect Pillow. I don't know if you ever heard this guy's story, but it was one of drug addiction and failure and setback. Right? Are you willing to go down that road and live that life of purpose? Gosh, even a life of purpose it can lead to not ideal things. If you look at people like Steve Jobs, right? Changed the world, this man. Changed the world. Had a passion, had his purpose, but it caused him to step on people, to ruin relationships, to deny a daughter that was his. Right? It's not easy. My goodness, when I started figuring out what my purpose was, knowing my passions and figuring out what my purpose was, I was working a full-time job that required nights, weekends, travel, 4 kids, and started a podcast, started a coaching business, started a speaking business, all on the side. I mean, man, you talk about maybe hard work, but it's better described as inspired action. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard work. I don't want you thinking that, once you find your passions and you discover your purpose, that life's all rainbows and daisies. It's not. But it's better. It's a life of inspired action. And that's what I want you to have. And so how do you do this? Honestly, to be honest, it's hard to do this by yourself, but you can. The best way to do it is get outside of yourself, hire a coach. Yes, I'm a coach, but I'm not the only coach who can help you with this. I feel like I'm pretty darn good at it. But I have a coaching program called Reveal Your Path. I do also, in addition to that, half-day and full-day one-on-one sessions with individuals and with companies. But if you want to really try this by yourself, download the action plan. Go to jimharshawjr.com/action and write out a plan based on everything that I've talked about here today. You have it in your hands. You can do this work. You can start creating momentum. And I hope you do. I don't want you to simply listen to this and then just move on. Unless you're going to move on and listen to that podcast about something else that you're trying to create a passion around. So I hope this helps. If it does, please give it a share. Share it with a friend. Share it with a family. Tell them, hey, just go check out jimharshawjr.com/234. That's episode 234. Give it a tweet, give it a share, give it a text to somebody else that you can, if you can help them get the clarity that they need. If you are looking to get the clarity that you need, you can jump on a phone call with me anytime. Just free clarity call. It's just go to jimharshawjr.com/apply. That's jimharshawjr.com/apply. I look forward to talking to you. And as always, until next time, take the time to get clear on your goals and embrace failure as a stepping stone on your path to success.